we go. We are enormously blessed this morning to have what I consider a friend and a business partner in the Shaklee field. Many of you have heard of Joanne Nistico. She is a master coordinator. She has spoken on Monday Mission Possible Calls, and she spoke with her daughter Bridget about social. A lot of you heard her. I had a lot of requests for her to speak on our Saturday call after they heard her because they wanted to get more information about her Shaklee story. And so that's exactly what she's here to do today. She's been in Shaklee for 40 years, I believe, maybe a little bit longer. She'll probably tell us the exact amount of time. And I understand that when she got started, she was looking just to make an extra $50 a month. And it has turned into this massive organization. Oh, a week. Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's
it wasn't that bad.
well, $200 a month. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And she's turned her business into something massive. She's helped hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people to change their lives from a health perspective, also a wealth perspective. She's been a master coordinator for at least 30 years. And so she's going to share with us her Shaklee story. So thank you so much for being here this morning, Joanne, and welcome to our team call.
Well, thank you for inviting me. When we never get not nervous when having to talk to Shaklee or even talk to a group of people. So if any of you don't ever want to talk, realize that we all have to stretch ourselves every once in a while. And I remember when I first was asked to talk in a Shaklee meeting by Mary Loomis, my knees knocked together and I couldn't even stand up to say my name. So I hope my story helps some of you who have a vision for something greater in your Shaklee business and don't see yourself there right yet. So I'm happy Saturday morning to everybody. I'm grateful to have you, Jennifer, asked me to speak. You are in an enormously talented and strong master lineage. You're very blessed to have not only Jennifer, but the Glackens and the Cashes as masters. I too am blessed to be in the OPA, Organic Products Associates, master coordinator lineage that was started by Mary Loomis. So I've had some great mentors, and my first message to each of you is be coachable. Listen to your mentor. If they say to do something, usually you should just say, how high? Try to go push yourself a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But why I'm here is to share my Shaklee story. Past, present, future, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I brought notes because I'm ADD, semi-dyslexic, so I can easily go all over the place. And I often do. So will have notes, so bear with me if you see me talking from them. You might ask me, who, is Joanne Nistico? What has she accomplished? What's your story? And stories do sell, facts tell. That might be another message I have for you. So often when people start, they want to just give all the facts about all the great products and all the benefits, when your story will attract and move the people into your life that will be a part of your team. So share your story. Success never happens in a straight line. It's circuitous, especially when you have that passion. I needed to learn a lot in my Shaklee. I was so good at making master, I made master 3 times. I went up and down and then up and down, and the third time was the charm for me. So if you find your business going down a little bit, don't worry about it, because as long as you keep your focus and vision and talk to your mentor, it will come back up and even greater. And it really, how that happened is by personal development usually. There's something within us that we have to take a look at, and I'll get into that further. I was first introduced to Shaklee in my teens. I was around 18 years old. A then boyfriend answered an ad in a local paper looking for distributors. And I remember sitting, he asked me if I would sit in with him, and I did. I sat in, and this man came over, and here I'm 18 years old, and this older gentleman comes in, and he has a suitcase, and he opens the suitcase, and in the suitcase is a cassette player. And the cassette player, in that suitcase is a can, not a can, it was a container and a box, and he plays a tape, he's not talking to us. He plays this tape, and what I hear is, "Welcome to the laws of nature." And it was Dr. Shackley. It was an audio recording of him. And I'm kind of befuddled by what this all is. And then he proceeds to share about the dishwashing detergent and the laundry powder. Well, I'm 18, I'm not doing laundry. It was so, a good example is speak to your prospect, not to what you think you want to tell them. You have to find out about them. You have to ask questions about what they're interested in and not go into your prepared spiel. So that was interesting. And the next time I was introduced to Shackley, when I was studying to be a special education teacher. That is what in Butler University in Indiana. And I thought that was what I wanted to do. And I emotionally was not equipped to handle the parents and the students who had serious problems. And I would come home crying all the time and wanting to take all the children home with me. And my mother said, "No, you can't do that. That won't work for you." So I became a yoga teacher. I got involved in yoga, which greatly helped me. And this is back in the early 1970s. And it helped me with my ADD. It really grounded me and helped me focus. And it also, my dad was obese and he was not healthy. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to take a look at how I could help my students at the time. And my yoga teacher, I used to see these products walking through the class, and my yoga teacher named Frank Zarifis, who was a purist. I mean, he could go out in the snow in a bathing suit and be warm by his breath. And so he was really strict with what he would use. And he ended up turning mist would help the ADD, everything. All the products help the ADD. Yoga helped, the deep breathing, getting them into some form of calming area so that they could work on their focus. And I'll answer questions later so that I don't get too distracted with my story. But what happened was Frank Zarifis was a coordinator, and I took over his yoga classes, but then I moved to Washington, D.C. and started teaching yoga in D.C. And I realized that I couldn't support myself on yoga. I was looking to make some extra income, $50 a week extra. I went home at Christmas time to talk to Frank. And I said, "Frank, can I sell some of the products that you are showing, that are going through the class?" And he said, "Yes, of course, but I can't talk to you now. It was the holidays. I'm going away. I'll get back to you." Well, I went back to DC and I do not wait. Part of my ADD is you better catch me while you can. I looked up in the white pages under Shackley, and I was very professional, very businesslike. And I went, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, who should I call on this list?" So I called someone and I asked them if I could sell Shackley products. And what do you think they said? "Sure, come on over." Well, I went over and I told my boyfriend at the time, it was a different boyfriend, and I said, "Sit in the car, wait for me. If I don't come out in 15 minutes, come and get me." Well, the man who introduced me to Shackley was very smart. He was a great businessman, and he showed me the big picture. He asked me if I wanted a protein drink. I said no. I could sell him some protein because I had all my health food store items in my cabinet. I was living in an efficiency apartment. I was in my early 20s. So I think what my story can share with each of you is I kind of maybe walked in almost a lot of your shoes because I was single, confused, not knowing what I was going to do to support myself, to trying to find a way that I could do that and this was just going to be a stepping stone into where I was going to go back into college and determine what my life would be so that I could be economically sufficient. The man showed me the whole picture, even though I didn't want to hear the whole picture. He showed me all the benefits that Shackley had. And literally at the end of it, I asked him, can I make $50 a week extra at this thing? So I wasn't your person that you would have said, she's a winner, she's a hot one, she's going to be a master coordinator. If he got to know me, he would know that I was, because I've been successful in other areas as a child, highly competitive equestrian, winning in top A show circuits in the country. So what also is another interesting aspect of Frank not contacting me, he did finally call me and said, Joanne, I'm ready to talk now. I said, well, Frank, I sponsored already. I didn't know that there was a lineage link that you could go into. But the other story is that same yoga teacher, because he had shared it with his other yoga students, had recruited another master coordinator, Edward and Jill Lamoureux came from that line, from him. But they went off into Thelma and Dan Williams' group at the time, where I went into the OPA group. So follow-up is a real critical issue, everybody. You know, try not to hold back on who you think. If someone asks you that they want to get in, don't wait too long. So after that happened, I became a director very quickly. I shared my protein with my students. I would put a table outside the YMCA gym, and I would shake up a container and I served protein. I also had a case of protein underneath my table, put the can on the desk on the table, and I said, it's XYZ amount, why don't you take it today? And so I sold like 12 cases of protein in my second month. So I kind of just fell in love with the protein. It actually made me feel better, even though I was a health nut, and my energy level, you don't have to feel bad to feel better on these supplements. You can get a health nut, get on Shackley, and they'll notice a difference. So that was a big point for me, that I realized I didn't have to wait to try to heal the world. I had to be able to just share my story, share my message, and talk to more people. Now I'm basically an introvert, so that was difficult for me. The phone was a terrible item, and it still is. I still don't like the phone, but I love people, and I love to hear stories. I love to talk to people. So usually I don't do anything I don't like to do, but you have to find something that you like to do and do a lot of it. So I don't know what your hot button is, but find one and do a lot of it. And if it isn't working, change it. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over when it's getting no results, because that's kind of like digging a hole to no growth. But if it's something that you're doing that you've been taught to do by following your mentors, you continue doing it. As I said, I made master 3 times because I didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing. I was getting things going, and stabilization is everything. You have the mentors. You don't have to look elsewhere, really. But however, what I've found is you're never a prophet in your own town. What Jennifer or the Underwoods or the Cashes may tell their teams, sometimes they hear it so often, it goes in one ear and out the other. Try to really listen. Try to open your mind and change, your focus a little bit to say, what are they saying that I am not doing, that I haven't followed, that I really need to do? And that's what made me a strong master. I finally looked at Mary Loomis and I said, what is she doing that I'm not doing? What are the things that she's talking to me about that I'm not doing? And what do I need to change in order to become a master? I also learned that the past does not equal the future. That was a big message for me. If some of you have been around for a long time now, the new people, you have a clean slate. You have a beautiful opportunity, a great gift in front of you. My yoga teacher, when he did call me, he said, Joanne, you have the key to your golden opportunity. I had no clue what that meant. It sounded corny, strange to me in my early 20s, but I found out that it was a key to my golden opportunity. Um, I think that I lost my train of thought. Just a minute. During the time, let me just share some of the challenges that happened when I became a director that could have easily derailed me. And I developed a motto that said, quitting is not an option. I loved what Shackley stood for. I loved the philosophy. I loved the ability to help people be healthier. My father died at 55 from obesity. It was so sad to see a man who was loved, joyful, helped the community, not be able to walk any distance with such heavy breath. However, if I were to depend on my Italian family to be a master coordinator, I wouldn't be here today. I actually insulted all of them, telling them that they had to change from white bread to, whole wheat. And here we owned an Italian restaurant. So I learned a lot on what not to do. The supplement plant blew up when I was a new director, and I couldn't get any supplements. I got very good at skincare. We had to buy our products in case lots and stock them in our home. We had a 16-wheeler come down our driveway. I had to repack and reship to customers that were all over the country. I sold from my own office and store where people would come down to my home, and I'd leave a milk carton outside and they would come in and get it and leave a check. It's so much easier today than what we had to go through back then. We couldn't get protein, and my whole business was on protein at that time because Dr. Shackley had sweetened it with sorghum, and they couldn't get sorghum during a certain time, so they had to change the sweetener. Those are just some of the challenges that happened. Was it easy to build to master? Well, no. However, as I think Ashley DeAngelis, who just spoke, talked about her vision recently and how she wanted it ever since she was a little girl. And it does take that desire and that commitment, and it does take the personal development to become the person that can be a leader, to be able to teach your team and to create a team. So be open to learning, be open to being coachable. As I said, I wanted to get into Shackley for $50 a week extra. I was a single person teaching yoga with no money, to earning an extra supplemental income. I had 3 other jobs, and every time my Shackley business increased, I quit one job to be able to become full-time. I married, I became a young mom, supporting supplemental income into my house. And then I was this divorced mother, a single mom. And that really made me go to master, because I got no alimony or child support. He was a deadbeat dad, disappeared. And it was up to me to provide the income necessary to live the lifestyle I was used to and accustomed to by my parents, not him, but by my family. And I saw that Shackley had that opportunity, and I decided to go for it and do the things necessary. I since became a multi-million-dollar earner in Shackley, and I now am able to offer the ability for the same to others, to give them financially successful life. And I strongly believe that women, when I was young, I realized that there were housewives that got divorced who didn't have a stream of income, who were suffering, and that bothered me. So I believe Shackley is such a great income producer for women, especially to be able to be financially wealthy, not just earn us, pittance. There's no glass ceiling, and we have the ability to receive much more. I've received monthly bonus checks every month on time for over 40 years. Never a question. I have a legacy to give my children, which was so important to me, and it's helped teach them to be successful entrepreneurs. Both of them are high-end successful entrepreneurs, very successful, and they know they have a very successful mom with a successful business that they can also inherit and help me with, as Bridget does, and my son Billy does, who's in LA. But primarily it's my business, and I do work well with Bridget, but she's very much like me, so that we both want to tell each other what to do. I've been able to work from not home, and I've never had a 9-to-5 job. It's quite remarkable. Shackley's taken myself and my children to Switzerland twice, London, Australia, New Zealand, Portugal, Spain, Hawaii, more times than I can count, many cruises and trips to Mexico, many company cars, including a fancy BMW. That was all awarded to me by Shackley because I did the due diligence of learning, becoming, listening, mentoring with others, and never quitting. That's the only talent I believe I have, is really never quitting. Honestly, I think I'm just a regular person that had a passion for what Shackley had to offer. The other challenges we had: the company was sold to the Japanese. Numerous sales plans we had to figure out and get adjusted to. And I got breast cancer, and I had to recover from that, which derailed me for a few years. And Shackley kept paying me, and actually I kept doing meetings then. We didn't have Zoom, fortunately, but we had, because at that time I'd lost my hair. That's why when I finally went gray. But I was able to continue to do meetings because of the websites, and I created a women in networking win, a group of women that I met with every week. I'd like to share an analogy on what Shackley for you can mean, and that's the NASA rover to Mars that just went out. The first one went out 8 years ago, and it was called Curiosity. And you all have a curiosity of what Shackley can mean to you, right? What does Shackley mean to me? I want to be able to stay on time, so I better get going. And now the rover's name is Persistence, or Perseverance. Perseverance is everything. Just don't quit. So welcome to the present. Shackley has so much to offer. We've got Roger Barnett, who's incredible, Dr. Shackley's philosophy, who is the standard of the golden rule. I mean, we are in the best business. I've continued to do meetings. I love to work with my team, just like your upline are incredibly powerful. You're so lucky. We share a letter of Dr. Shackley's Birth of a Philosophy, if you don't know about that. Our DNA is super outstanding. If you have a question, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, actually. If not now, when? Then I hope you all have a pen and piece of paper, because these should be written down. What is the vision for your Shackley future? What must you become? What is the next step you must take? What are the gifts and talents and capabilities that you already have to use in your business? And what are you willing to let go of in your life that may be holding you back? That's something that was big for me. And I want to just end with a quote that really helped move me to master by a German poet, Johann Wolfgang Goethe. He wrote, "Are you in earnest? Seize this very moment. What you can do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius power and magic in it. Only engage, and then the mind grows heated. Begin, and then the work will be completed." So I want to thank you. I think I've stayed in my time.
You
If
did.
not over. I hate going over. I'm a big keeping on time person, but when I don't watch the clock, it can get over. Thanks you so much for allowing me to share my story, because I do want to help as many Shaklee people as possible. So thanks very much.
Joanne, it was awesome. I have so many notes here, and I'm sure that there's a ton of questions people would love to ask you. And unfortunately, if I open that up, we'll probably be here all day. So I'm not going to do that. But I will type up, I actually wrote down all the questions that you asked, and I'm going to put that on our team page over on Facebook so that people can ask themselves those questions. That was a great way for you to end and to share. Everybody, if you want to unmute and you guys can thank Joanne yourselves. I know that she really impacted me, and I know that she impacted a number of people that are on this call. So if you want to unmute, if you want to share anything with her, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Joanne.
For your
Thanks,
honesty.
Joanne.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Joanne, you're great.
You.
Really good.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Write it down.
Amazing.
Everybody, you have to write